They are an expert in so many things. But you've just brought your car to your doctor and you're like, hey, doc, what's going on with the check light? So it's misplaced precision on your part. And that's something we can change, right? And that is, we inherited that, right? The physician isn't the issue. The physician isn't practicing the way they want. So we need to look at them as also victims of an institutionalized system.
Right.
And, what you're starting to espouse is we think we will be successful when we have a generation of kids coming in who end up with pain and know how to take a first crack at it. So let me give you an example. In the military, we had a lot of, when I started, teaching there, literally I started teaching there 15 years ago. It was probably the first time I was in a, like Marine School of Infantry, something like that. And they were having a ton of shoulder impingements, huge loads, right? Wretched positions, helmets, 100-pound packs, rucking, and all the shoulder impingement. Pain, let's not even call it impingement. Pain when you put your arms over your head. That's going to be tricky. That's tricky if your job is to do monkey bars and pull-ups. So, among other things, right? So, we just dropped in a lacrosse ball, and I was like, check this out. Put a lacrosse ball on your first ribs. Lay on the ground, put your arm over your head a whole bunch of times. Make sure you can breathe, and just mobilize those tissues. And bam! Now the lacrosse ball is part of like the basic package that's given out at the Marine School of Infantry.
That's amazing.
For self-maintenance, because they found out they could solve this. And the physical therapists were like, yes, I actually have real injuries to solve. That guy actually hurt herself. She hurt himself. You deal with this. The reason I mention that is that a lot of those first lieutenants, a lot of the captains, a lot of the young people are now majors and colonels. And what's happened is that I've realized it's going to take a minute for us to make real change. The fastest we can go is at this glacial pace. And it's going to take a minute until we see changes in attitudes, because everyone comes from somewhere, everyone has some experience. So now the young people that we interacted with are now in positions of leadership, and they're coaching teams and they're leading organizations. And sometimes we can feel desperate, like we haven't made any change, but we are starting to see some change there. We're also going to start to see the fact, let me give you an example. My daughter is a phenom water polo goalie. She is just like a 14-year-old starting varsity goalie. She's a savage. She loves goal. It's always 0-0 in her head. She's kind of like, my wife is a 3-time world champion whitewater paddler. The more stressful it is, she competes in the games, the more gnarly my wife gets. She just becomes a diamond. Like she's all soft, and then she becomes a diamond. Watching my daughter do that is so cool. So she's at this Olympic Training Center camp for young kids. She was an 8th grader last year when she did this. And they had her throw they did like 13 sessions in like 4 days. Wow. And as a goalie, she's doing so much long toss. So she's just long tossing all the way down, right? And just like cold, warm block, long toss. And guess what? Her shoulder starts to hurt. That biceps tendon gets a little hot for anterior delt. She's a little pissed. She's super freaked out because she's like, hey, I don't want to come out. I'm being scouted. I want to play. So she gets out of one of the things at the end of the evening. She goes home. She does some end-range isometrics. She gets a ball. She starts rolling it back and forth against the wall. And then she uses an H-wave and decongests her tissues, and then did a little scraping on it. And guess what? Back in the pool the next day. No pain. And when she asked the physical therapist what the physical therapist said, the physical therapist, who doesn't know these kids, has her own caseload, was like, put some ice on it. And my daughter lost her mind. That was your solution, is to like make it numb? Like, why don't you give me a shot of bourbon, lady? Why don't you give me some drugs? So the key is, here is a 13-year-old child who has been instructed in how to manage simple pain, even though she's away at some sleepaway camp, and she's able to take care of that through some very, very simple interventions. Now, apply that across millions of people, and pretty soon we start to have something that smells like and feels like revolution, because when someone's knee hurts, your friends are like, lay on the ground, I'm going to walk on your quads. Why? Because your quads are stiff. And at least let's cross that off the list. Hey, have you done any couch stretch? That's working on hip extension. Why not? Let's go ahead and do some isometrics there. And pretty soon, people can say, hey, let's see when you're squatting, how your arch collapses. I think that's a less effective position. And when we start to even change the narrative of, hey, you're not injured, but hey, there's something we can do to make you more effective as a mover or a person, then we will begin to reap what we think we're sowing now. And it is so slow and so painful that sometimes I feel like I want to give up.
But you won't. I know you won't. We need you, Kelly. But that's a great segue into what
I can't wait to be on more TikTok videos.
More TikTok. I'm too scared. I downloaded the app and I deleted it right away. It put fear into me. I was so scared. But I wanted to segue